Shoot, I'm excited about that. I'm about to fall asleep, but I got new energy now. I'm good. Next up is the Mitchell County Fire Association. Mr. Josh Boone, President of Fire Association and Chief of Crucified Fire and Rescue, will go first. Thank you, Josh, for being here.
I'll start out with the two new board members. This is the fourth time we've made presentation to the board with their concerns. A lot has changed since the last presentation, obviously, for certain reasons. I'm gonna try to shorten it down so Mr. Pittman can get home early.
You're a good man, Josh. Don't worry about him. Before you say anything, I want to say something. I want to make sure it's publicly said. Mr. Tim in Ledger, I owe him a debt of gratitude and on behalf of the people of Ledger, North Carolina. My father, and Roger Wilson. Congratulations for getting down to a level 5. Those guys did one awesome
Yes,
job.
Tim was not able to be here tonight. He had some conflict with some family issues. And it was one of the things that I definitely wanted to bring up. Last time we met, we still had two departments that had not lowered their rating. And the county Ledger has, did awesome on theirs. Building is in the process. They are starting to work through that, and other departments are helping them do that, and seeing what Tim did has really gave them the push that they know they can. So, I'm gonna skip a lot of the history stuff that I had. Everybody knows me, it's there, that has heard it before. I handed out some papers, and this is some numbers, this is some stuff to look at. The first one is the gear that we wear and the average cost. And it says 27.9. That's not a true number for us, because thermal imaging camera, the axe and the hooks, not every member, not every firefighter has that on their departments. We have them on the trucks for certain ones to use. So if you take those out, it's $20,000 a person just to put them in gear so they can come fight fire, come and save you in a fire. The thing is, every 10 years, the coat and pants, the boots, helmet. Well, I say the coat and pants because NFPA requires them to be aged out at 10 years, so those have to be replaced. Boots, the helmet, the gloves, the mask. If it's an active fireman, those can last 6 months, they can last 6 weeks. And how busy they are, how much they're used, how much they're destroyed. The SCBA's at 6,800 have a lifespan 7 years almost. Now they have come out with some newer ones that do not have a lifespan. The cost is a lot more, but they're just now coming out, and we've applied for some on some grants. That's what it costs each department to put somebody in gear, try to save somebody's life, or try to put your house fire out. The next page is doing with apparatus, and this is where it really hurts. And I can definitely contest that for these numbers. Spruce Pine is scheduled for delivery on a new engine in hopefully August, about $800,000 engine. Our ladder truck, which is 29 years old, I say that with 100% confidence because the month I joined, we received that truck. So I've been here 29 years, truck for 29. To replace that $800,000 truck, I have priced it. You're looking at $1.6 to $1.7 million to replace that truck. That truck is vital to keep our rating where it is. North Carolina's rating formula involves gear, the age of your gear, how much gear you have, age of your vehicles, how many vehicles you have. Training is the other big thing in that. So every department in the county who's trying to lower their rating or has lowered their rating, you're gonna try to keep their rating where it is. The expense from 10 years ago to now is astronomical. We haven't had a raise. I'll take that back. We did get a little bit of a raise when the reval went through a couple of years ago now. Each department got a little bit of that. My fear now is the upcoming reval, whenever that is, what's property valuation Michigan gonna do thanks to the storm? Was that gonna take money from us if the reval, property values go down? I don't know. So an actual raise in the fire tax hasn't happened. Maybe tell me, all thing under the bus. It's been several years. It's been a long time. So we're getting to the point, my budget can't buy this stuff that is needed, this equipment to. And here's the thing, I'm not asking for a new office equipment. I'm not asking for a new truck for me to drive. I'm not asking for money to help buy stuff to save your life, save your house. That's what's plain and simple. If I don't have this and your house is on fire, your house is gonna burn. Almost everybody goes, I'm not risking my life. I'm not asking them to risk their life. Without this, we can't fight fire. And that's where we're at. So this is the third time that several of you, 3 of you have heard this, first time for 2 of you. And the bottom line is I'm a taxpayer. I mean, I do not want my taxes to go up, period. Unless there is a need and that need can be proven. Presentation before this one is a need. Great presentation, it's a need. This is a need. After the storm, my budget has changed 100%. I've had to reevaluate a lot of stuff that we had before the storm versus now. Now speaking of Spruce Pine Association, my 2 generators have to be replaced. At not a very cheap cost. I'm having to turn back. If I would have known that both generators will have to be replaced a year and a half ago when I ordered the new truck, I probably wouldn't order the new truck. But the big generator at Station 1 is roughly $140,000. One of the Estito is going to be significantly less, because it's going to be a smaller generator, smaller building. And I'm really glad to hear every one of you say fire mitigation is a priority. Well, unfortunately, it is. The fire we had last week should have been a 20-acre fire. It was a 140-acre fire. So that's the fact of what we're gonna have to deal with. Every department has changed their SOGs, SOPs, and how they're gonna operate this spring and this fall because of the hazards involved. Jeff, I don't know where you're at with what we talked about. I'll say this a little bit out of turn. I'm working with the town of Spruce on the ordinance or whatever they want to call it to be able to install or issue a burn ban in Spruce Pine city limits. I was going to bring it to you all tonight too, but I'm hoping that we have already addressed that issue on this level.
If you don't care to stay.
I'm going to.
Okay. I think
So
you're gonna.
Yes, it's a little bit of conversation we had, that is huge. Tomorrow is gonna be a very high dangerous, it's gonna be strong winds, low humidity, sun's gonna be out. But I said, I'm gonna cut it short. I do want to again invite every one of you to come to Spruce Pine Fire Department on Monday nights. I'm there every Monday. And I can go through the books and I can show you everything we spend money on and what we need that we don't have the money to spend on. And so I don't want to take up time with you all again with the same numbers and the same everything. Any Monday night, come to Spruce Pine Fire Department, sit down and I can go through every number, what we spend, where we spend it, and where we need to spend it. And safety's number 1. This equipment is safe. Gotta have it. Can't fight fire without it. Equipment is number 2. Can't fight fire without it. But it's to the point our budget is gone past what we bring in. So we haven't had a raise in the fire tax in years. And cost of fire equipment has quadrupled in the last 10 years. Whatever reason, people want to throw price tags on fire equipment. So that's just the fact. Any questions?
I do.
Yes, sir.
And I know the answers to both of these, okay? But we're live streaming this, want the public to hear it, and you commissioners to hear it. One thing I'd like for you to touch on, and you probably can't give me the number on the insurance side. But if you would explain to this board and the people that are watching on live stream, how the rating works when the rating
Yes.
drops compared to the homeowner's insurance, and then when you get to a certain rating, then it also helps with, the business side of the
I
insurance. So,
definitely will. And I did actually have a folder from the last time we met and some stuff and notes. And 5 months ago, something happened in my office, everyone sort of got destroyed with paperwork, and I still trying to find stuff that got misplaced. ISO ratings that we talked about, every fire department, well, except for one, and they're starting the process. Gets rated, 9's the highest. Actually, I guess it's a 10 is non-rateable, which means you can't get insurance coverage. Then 9 down to 1, the lower the number, the better insurance rating you have. And homeowners down to a 5, each lower number reduces your insurance rate, your insurance cost. And just a rule of thumb, I don't have the numbers. I can't pull it out of my head, but it's significant. I know Roger Wilson's at Ledger, when they went down to a 5, I think he said his dropped $480 a year.
I think it's like $100 per point or per.
It is a little bit, and it gets a little skewed as you get lower, because the lower you go, the higher you save goes up. And I'm on, don't want to quote me on that, but it was significant. It was several $100s he's saving a year because his rating dropped. And Roger's a big proponent because his wife worked at Corners for years, and he knows the numbers and he knows the scale. And he was tickled to death when he finally got their rating down. You get below a 5, it does not help individuals. It helps businesses. And that is a huge selling point. Trying to bring business to Mitchell County, if you say, well, that fire department has a 5, 4, 3 rating, because that's a huge savings on their fire tax, their fire insurance. So Spruce Pine's a 5. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I know Ledger came in as a 5, Fort Mountain's a 5, Parkways. Parkways 4, Faulkner 4. So when Bulletin drops theirs, and they're in line to make a huge drop. The biggest part of it is paperwork and equipment. You can prove you've got the equipment, you've got the paperwork, you can drop. It's significant to the homeowners, but when you get down to 5s and 4s, it's a selling point to bring business into Mitchell County. Okay, Bruce Pine Fire Department's a 5. We just went through a rating. We were scheduled to do it in September. Something happened. We were scheduled in October. Something happened. Didn't get it in. We just did it a month and a half ago. So we're expecting our inspection results to come back any day. I'm hoping, should stay at 5, hoping to drop to a 4. The problem there is, if we drop to a 4, in 7 years we get re-inspected. We go back up to a 5 or to a 6, because I can't buy the equipment I need. I got homeowners are going to race all kinds of angry things. The first thing I'm gonna do is point them at you all, saying, I don't have the money to buy the equipment I need, so the rating went up. To answer your question.
It does, hope it answers these guys' question. Next thing I want to touch on, because I think this is highly important. It was for me. The training that your volunteer firemen have to go through. And if it's still the case, I want you to point out that the volunteer does the same training that a paid firefighter does. So I'll turn it over to you.
We're required the same amount of training in the same place, same everything. Charlotte Fire Department, Raleigh Fire Department, Asheville Fire Department, Marion Fire Department. Spruce Pine Volunteer Fire Department has to do the same training to get the same certification. We have to carry 8 certified, 8 members of Spruce Pine. 9 members of Spruce Pine have to have 28 hours or 6 hours a year, certified training. To be considered a certified fire department. If you have a substation, it's another 5. I asked somebody as a volunteer that doesn't get paid to spend time away from their family to get this training in. It's hard to do. Luckily, Spruce Pine, we've got a good corps that's got their certification. Problem is, out of the 12, the Spruce Pine that has their certifications, 8 of them can retire tomorrow and go home. And then Spruce Pine is gonna be struggling because we don't have enough certified people to be a certified fire department. We put on probation. And then after a year, if we don't, then we become a non-accredited fire department, and then our rating goes to a 10. And everybody's fire insurance is sky high. So in the state of North Carolina, they've changed their way they do their training. It's not very volunteer friendly now. So it's got block classes, and you have to take so many classes before you test. You might have to take 3 classes, then take a test on all of it. Well, as a volunteer, you might not be able to take that class, boom, 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 then test. So it's really hard, and the state has amended some of their stuff on the certifications, and they're working that out. The volunteer side has been really restricted on how we get our certifications for that. So, and it ain't getting any less, it ain't getting any easier, and I'm getting a lot older doing it. So,
Any other questions for Mr. John? All members?
Yeah, I'd ask what the morale is of the fire department.
right now, everybody's tired. And that's easy, we're more out. Luckily, Spruce Pine, I've had a inundation of some young people. I've got 4 new guys that just put in applications. They're young, they're gung ho, which is great because it gives energy to the old ones. They help train them. I don't want to speak for the other departments. I said, but last week we had 7 fires in 7 days. And we had 2 dump truck wrecks. That gets old.
I'll just add this one thing, about a month, during the heavy ice. I've heard people say this, but it's true. When we had the heavy ice storm, generator kicked on. The house we bought had a security system in it, so we activated it. And that one of those coldest nights with all the ice, Kyle Hughes, I think it was Rocky Buchanan's son, came to the house about 9:30 because of CO2. Well, they called, and we immediately opened all the windows, stepped outside. But I'll just speak for myself, like I've heard other people say, I didn't care what the tax rate was at that moment in time. I don't think I really believe this, I don't think there's ever been a better time for Mitchell County to support the fire departments than now, 6 months after Helene, and what you guys tried to do, what you guys did to support the county.
I'll agree with him on that very much.
Gosh, is the mutual aid response amongst the departments, is that pretty consistent?
Yes. That's one thing with inspections, you have to enter mutual aid agreements and tweak them for needs, and the needs change between inspections, but yeah, we've got automatic agreements, which is, Spruce Pine has it with Parkway and Ledger, Greenville and Newdale. If I have a structure, they're dispatching 3 departments, depending on where it is, and it's automatic. Then we've got mutual aid agreement with the rest of the county departments, all the way to Dewey and Bradshaw, Fort Mountain. If it's severe enough, I can call and they will send help.
Okay.
Just tankers, manpower, and vice versa. If they need it, then that's where we're at with our people. I don't have enough people during the day to fight a severe fire. So I'm having to call help from whoever can send it. The Dow County fires that I had several weeks ago, we were sending people down there in structural protection. And helping me down here, it's the number of volunteers and the number of firefighters is dropped so low, that Spruce Pine can't fight Spruce Pine fires by ourselves. We gotta have it, and it's not got any better. With the storm changing water points, where we get water, how our access, and I know that was something that you brought up, is a great point. Access to houses can be very limited.
How long we have on our, water point increase?
So, yeah, we've been, assessing them. I think Adri's reached out to all the fire departments to find out which ones are filled up, and then we will do a sedimentation measurement on them, so when you remove the stuff from the creek, you do it proper, and but is that a quick process? No, but it is something that we're working on right now, and I think the state will. My thoughts are is the state's very motivated to get these water points going before fall. They're pushing hard, and I think they'll have funding for that, so we're trying to run that on our angles.
Actually, Alan, I think we need to dig out on FEMA too for those water points.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that on our thing, so we got a couple of angles.
And what we're trying to do is once those get back up and going, we'll have to recertify those, and we included that in the DI too as well, because the county had just paid to certify those, remember?
Since the county did that last run of water points, that kind of set us up to where it showed that was a pre-storm expense, so Mavis did us good by getting that on our worksheet.
And that's major. And us being, we do cover Spruce Pine, but we do cover Esquito, Googes Creek. The water points are extremely important in those areas. They're not hydrants. That we've got to pull water from somewhere. And, those are very, very serious issues.
Yeah, we'll be definitely, moving that as quick as we possibly can.
Josh, on something, just for my knowledge, like on a big truck, like a ladder truck that you gotta buy. Do you guys do like a capital, would you buy that and depreciate it over time? How do you have basically like buy it by capital and say it's an asset, it's good for 20 years or?
In my paperwork that I couldn't find, I had some information on apparatus. The average lifespan of a fire apparatus is 14 to 16 years. And a lot of that is though based off of large city departments that run steady. And the volunteer side, it can be stretched out a little long. The truck I'm replacing, the new one coming in is 30 years old. At 30 years old, the expense of running it. To answer your question, Spruce Pine, yes, because we do a yearly audit. Some departments don't do it. Nothing's required to it, and most of them are so small that there is not an audit involved, the money's, it's not there to do an audit. But no, there is not per se a set. A Spruce Pine, as I said, we do an audit, and we have that in the audit is the depreciation and everything.
I guess yeah, cause I'm just, you don't have to come up with $1.8 million to buy that truck, immediately,
If that truck
you're not
is-
making a pay, can you make payments on it or?
Yeah, we'll finance.
Gotcha.
We'll finance.
Yeah.
And there's some avenues there. Local government credit union is very good. Management bank has been really good. We finance it. The problem is, I said, I've got new truck orders. We're already making payments on it. I've got inspections on my testing on my trucks next month. If that ladder truck fails and I have to repair it, if it's a major cost, it's $300,000-400,000. It could easily be with that ladder. If that turntable does not pass, that has to be either replaced or the whole truck has to be replaced, and that's $200,000 to $300,000. That has to come out. And I have to inform the state that truck is not in service, and if it's not put back in a timely manner, that affects my rate.
And what I'm thinking is like, if we knew as a board, like, hey, here's some big things we know we got coming. We gotta buy a ladder truck that's 1.8 million. We gotta buy this. Then we can say, okay, you're gonna buy that and you're gonna finance it for 10 years or whatever whatever it
Like I
is.
said, the truck we just bought, $800,000, we financed it for 6 years.
that would help us to know what kind of money that we really truly need to help.
As I said, the generators are huge to us, my ladder truck. If it doesn't pass inspection, I'm either gonna fix it or replace it. And at 30 years old, it's 29 years old. At any time, like I said, the longevity of fire apparatus is 14, 16 years. And there was a lot of discussion within the fire service about used apparatus. And a lot of departments do go down the avenue of used apparatus at a cheaper cost, because it's all they can afford. Problem there is, the fire apparatus gets sold or traded, gets sold or traded for a reason, because it's past its reasonable functioning time. So whoever buys it is gonna try to spend that X amount of dollars to keep it in service. And that's where we're at with the truck. It's 30 years old. Every time we run it on fire, we spend 2 days fixing it. That's why we bit the bullet and decided that we had to replace it, and that was in our budget, and we worked it in, but now after the storm, we're having to go back around and look at our budget completely different.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking, like for a buck, as we go to this budget stuff,
And that's easy enough done.
next 3 to 5 years, we can start looking in there and saying, hey, we know you guys are gonna need this. So how can we help
The
get
easy,
you
the easy answer to that
allocated? Yeah.
is the turnout years every 10 years. Unless it is damaged. If it's damaged, we can turn it on insurance. But every 10 years, it has to be replaced. That's NFPA. Biggest things, the insurance cost. We pay, Spruce Pine pays about $28,000 to $30,000 in insurance. Trucks replaced. Yeah, that's an easy number. Spruce Pine's got 2 30-year-old trucks, replacing one. So, I mean, we've got a fire association meeting next weekend, and I'll bring you that to them. Come up with a budget, every department come up with a budget with their year or 2, 3 year needs. It's an easy answer.
I think it would help us to
Yeah,
help plan for you guys too, you know?
and, said, nothing's getting cheaper.
And we don't get ahead of it,
Well, and here's the thing. If we lose the voluntary fire service in the county, then the county has to pay somebody to be there. Man, what you pay now versus what you have to pay. Paid fireman is very small compared to several $1 million.
Amendment section 6.
You done the math, haven't you, Jeff?
6 million. So that would be a tax increase to the citizens. 12 to 14 cents,
And,
just to cover the fire costs.
and where it hits home is where we're losing volunteers. And we're losing people that can respond, and in that formula, that we have a structure fire. State says we have to have this number of equipment and this number of people to respond. If they don't respond, then it brings us down in our rate. We don't have that number, it brings us down our rate. So most departments in the county, I'll speak for all of them, have started supplementing people working basically during the day. Spruce Pines during the day and paying somebody to be there. Number one, it's a paperwork issue that the state keeps adding on. It's somebody to do the paperwork, but it also gives us somebody. And the 3 fires that we've had in Spruce Pines district, brush fires, we got extremely lucky. Had somebody at the station that got quick and got it out before it became an issue. But staffing is becoming more and more of an issue, and we're trying to supplement. And somebody there during the day to get the truck out, get somebody there quick, get somebody to do CPR quicker. If ambulances are tied up, we get somebody there. We just spent $21,000 out of some money that was allocated for it from a donation. And we supplemented a little bit for an automatic CPR device. Strap it on, hit the button, it does CPR. It's a game changer really, but it's $21,000 per unit. I know EMS is working out, when they delivered ours, they brought them, looked at it, because even a CPR. There's no guarantee if people are gonna come up, I'm sure, ambulance is gonna have 2 people. Fire department has 2 people, great, but if nobody can go, The EMS is going to see car by themselves, and that's not easily done.
Josh, since I was off the, fire association board, did anything ever come to fruition with the schools and Mayland and the fire program? And
Yes.
can you report a little bit about?
Yes, they have run it for the second semester.
Mhm.
I don't know the numbers in the class right now. Even the last meeting, the numbers are down a little because it's new, but the response is very positive. And for the ones who don't know, it's programmed through Mayland to teach the fire classes at the high schools and elective. So when they graduate, they come out of class, they've got their firefighter 1 and 2 certification. I don't think they started the EMS side of it, did they? So they're trying to work it in, they come out with the medical classification, which is huge because being a member of the Western Association, I get text, emails every day of job openings in Western North Carolina through the fire service. McDowell County's asking every county, great jobs, good paying jobs. That when you come out of high school with that degree, certification, you can go apply for that job, and it's a great job, it's a good job. And it's a boost up for our kids coming out of school. But yeah, they're already in the program, and they're hoping first semester numbers are up a little bit, second semester, but I hope people see what it is and other students see what they're doing, they'll be more interested in it. And that was the huge step was getting it started.
Yeah. No, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board? Josh, thank you.
I'm gonna let. You know,
Mr. Matt?
Stephen, Matthew State, Chief Fire Department. If y'all didn't know, I was gonna also introduce my assistant chief, which is also the emergency management. I don't know how many hats he wears a lot.
We got our titles now.
He does, but you know, as far as Bakersville goes, last year around 500 calls. And I'm sure Helene, the dispatchers couldn't get all the calls in where we was at, so we probably outnumbered that. And then 100% volunteer, and Josh already talked on that, 36 hours of training per year per member. And members don't just walk in every Monday night, they've been nice. We have had several come in after the storm, but we've had a couple leave after the storm. And I don't blame them because I wanted to leave too.
I think a few years back, it was like, I don't know, Josh, but it was like 160 some volunteers in the county total or something like that. And the average age was like in the 60s.
Yeah, 61, 62.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I mean, that new bloods.
Well, I mean,
Appreciate
like,
Steve, why don't you go to your fire department and support them?
They need people that can help. I'd be more of a liability.
and speaking of the storm, I do appreciate the county and what they've done during it, and I helped assist Harley get into this building and get county vehicles moved, and it was a wild times. But, we was like Josh, we did get several donations from individuals. And we're working through that, finishing up a substation over in Bandana. Help that community out. A lot of money actually specifically donated to that department, which was great. And a lot of members went up above and beyond what was required. I mean, I'll have to say that, but, and then in turn, I hate taxes going up. I hate paying taxes, but at the same time, stuff's going up. And it's like Josh talked about, we've been looking to a new truck, around $800,000. We just, that's what you was talking about, a 5-year plan. Me and my officers and board was also talking about a 5 and 10-year plan for the fire department. As far as what we want to see out of it in the next, 10 to 15 years. And then we're a rating of a 4. Just like, which I'm sure it helps the county insurance out. I would be curious on what the school is now
Yeah.
with ledger dropping, because that's what I got the thing there while Josh was talking. But,
And we've got 2 county buildings out there.
yeah,
So it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see what that,
Yeah,
yeah,
big number around the numbers.
I see Sabelco's number now.
yeah. Yeah, 'cause they was-
More 905 and
Yeah.
stuff, it was insurance, that thing.
So. But we're here to help the community. We're there when you count on. Them. Need anything else?
Anything from you? Comments, questions? Well, I'll again say, you know, 6 months ago, all hell broke loose, and that's why the storm was named after what it was named. You guys were first out on the scene with local volunteers. In many situations, you put your life at danger. You didn't know when you left your house if you was coming back to your house because of the danger. A thank you could not come close to saying what y'all did, spending hours and days and weeks at your station and away from your family. You know, a lot of people, like with EMS, Commissioner Pittman, former Commissioner Pittman, you know, made a comment about the expense. But EMS had to be called to his house expense, not to his house, but in a vehicle accident. And he said that publicly. Nobody realizes what you do. A lot of people don't care what you do. Okay? Just being honest. Until you got to show up at their house. And it's their family member that may be dying or in distress. And you're there day and night, holidays, whenever it comes out. So, guys, thank you for what you do. I've been on this board 6 years. Josh, we've had this discussion for 4. You guys have been here 3 times in person. I think we got last year, we didn't get you here. You know, this is a tough year. I think we all realize. With the storm has caused many problems. And we haven't had to do this in, what, already 2 years, 3 years, take money from fund balance, but we're gonna have to take a lot of money from fund balance. Probably this year to balance the county budget, make sure things are taken care of. But also in saying that, I hope this board, when it comes budget season and the talk comes down and, you know, it's time to make a decision, I hope we consider what's been said here tonight. And we'll think and figure out a way to do possibly what we need to do. I think we all realize as elected officials that when you have to make a tough decision and there's money involved, taxpayer money involved, then your backside's one that's on the line. So you're gonna have, if we do something like this, guys, you're gonna have tough skin. And you're gonna have to be able to defend your decision, which I do not think will be hard.
Jeff, the easy way to defend it is if you pay an extra $100 in fire tax, you save $200 in your insurance.
That's exactly right, Josh.
I mean, spruce fire, next inspection, we go up, homeowners insurance is going up. So you pay a little bit more in taxes and you save it threefold in
Well,
insurance.
you know, and I think we all understand that, and I think a lot of citizens understand that. There's also people that hear the T word, tax, just like the Z word, zoning. Okay, those are 2 real ugly, nasty words. But reality's reality, guys. So, you know, it is what it is. So, and I think I can say for this board, we will take this under serious consideration. Between now and the time we decide on budget and come back anytime. We'll keep
I
you
do
guys
want to add
informed.
one more thing, Jeff, real quick. Mr. Cook, I knew him from here at those fire association meetings. I really got to know him for about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I want to thank you for your service.
Appreciate all y'all done. Y'all were a hub. I tell you, these fire folks, night before, on the 26th, we were all over here in this meeting room down the hall, And, every fire chief was there, mayors were there, commissioners were there. And we knew it was gonna be bad. I think we all said, we had a prayer, I believe, right there at the end of that, praying for the good Lord's mercy on us. And, every one of them in there was prepped and ready, and buddy, they hit it. Whenever those trees were down, I was listening on that two-way radio that night, and you talk about some dudes in the trenches, you know, for what little I did in logistical stuff, they did it 10 times in boots on the ground.
Just to add for these guys in the field, from the 911 side, these calls are not getting any easier. They're more intense calls, they're taking more time, they're more serious when they get to them. And at this point in this disaster, we don't know the impact that we're gonna have on the number of people we're gonna lose after this adrenaline stops. Because of everything that they've had to deal with day after day after day, it's going to take a toll. And the number of volunteers, paid people that's going to stop doing this work is gonna be unheard of. It's just gonna be one of those big numbers that we're probably not ready for. And these guys and gals are giving everything they've got every day. But those calls are not getting any easier. And there's a lot of them coming in.
Anything else, guys? Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I don't see any of the other chiefs here. Thank you guys for representing.
Like I said, a couple of them had some, personal issues, they couldn't make it tonight, so they apologize, they couldn't make it.
We understand. We'll follow up board reports. Ms. Harvey.
Okay, let's start it out. Let's see here. We'll start with the Mitchell County Regional Library Board. We met on March the 6th, and Amber informed us that our state aid did stay the same because of all the additional funding that the towns and the counties have supplied over the years, which was very good news. I was very happy to do that, especially going into budget time. Starting July 1st, the library system will be renamed the Toe River Valley Regional Library. So if you guys start seeing that, that's what it is. There were several attendees at that meeting in support of Amber, but there was only 3 public comments, and I was pleasantly surprised that they were not negative. Expected them to be, but they were very happy that the library board had asked certain questions, and I guess it was questions that they had been asking all along, and they were happy to finally get some answers to that. And let's see what else here. They will likely be looking for a new office since the current one is in Yancey County. And that would need to be at least 1,200 square foot with at least 6 parking spaces so that it can accommodate the bookmobile. And then I don't know if you have anything else in reference to the library.
Yes, ma'am. 2 things that are in the work. One is the withdrawal provisions related to Yancey County. I believe that there will be some contractual provisions for Yancey County to continue to share in the bookmobile and perhaps some other services until state funding becomes available on the Yancey County side of things. So I believe that is in the works. The other thing that we will need to be looking toward is an update as to the operating agreement for the Two River Valley Regional Library System, because it would then be Mitchell County, Avery County, and Spruce Pine. And we'll need to speak with our fellow stakeholders in that as to what the composition of the board would look like, and also what the provisions of that are going to be. I have a draft document that I've shared with Mr. Cook, but I don't believe it's ready to put forward yet as a draft for consideration. But that is in the works.
We'll just let you continue leading that on, and you tell us whenever we need to do it. So.
Thank you, ma'am.
Let's see, that was about all I had for the regional library board, unless anybody had any questions about it. Not, then, I had a Zoom meeting with the NCCC, discussing some opioid discussions, and some questions that I had, just clarifying questions since Christy's no longer here. So if anybody wants to go into the details, I'll share those, but they were pretty simple questions, and, that team is really helpful, so. Let's see, the next thing, I had a meeting in Raleigh on March the 13th. And there was some discussions about Senate Bill 220, Section 4. And there were several citizens in the county that had reached out, from a tourism standpoint. And basically, the way that current bill had been presented was there's restrictions on public access to our waterways. And that would make it a criminal offense if you entered or exited those. But I reached out to Ralph and Dudley and some other people that I know down there, and they felt pretty confident that the verbiage in that bill, if it passed, would change so it would not hinder any of our outdoor recreation here in Mitchell County. So, TDA, so normally our TDA meeting is today, but Director Jones is attending the Visit NC conference. So our meeting will be next week, but she did want me to share with you guys that she does have a Mitchell County Tourism Post-Disaster Recovery Plan. And the objective of this 3-phase plan is to restore and strengthen tourism across the county by providing strategic marketing, business support, and infrastructure investment in Spruce Pine, Bakersfield, Little Switzerland, Green Mountain, and Penland. Her recovery plan includes printing marketing materials, online advertisement, billboards, brochures, and capital investments specifically focused on small-scale repairs to outdoor tourism areas like the Bakersfield Creek Walk and then the Spruce Pine, I call it the River Walk. I think there's another name for it. It's right there in the park, Riverside. I call it the River Walk. But she is focusing on community engagement that includes event grants that will be on a reimbursement basis, just so that we stay in compliance with our audit with the county. The purpose of these grants are to help promote festivals and events that encourage people to stay the weekend here in Mitchell County. And so in hopes that while they're here, they can shop locally with small businesses, farmers, and then participate in some outdoor recreation and visit local artists. That was all we had for the TDA. And then cooperative extension, so Small Farms Week is the 23rd through the 29th. And I will be coming to the middle school on the 28th, I believe, to participate in an event that they are doing with the middle schoolers. So I'm looking forward to that. And then also on the 25th, me, Brandon, the 2 4-H agents, and then Sam will be going to Raleigh to participate in Small Farms Week down there. So I believe it is a Tuesday. So we're looking forward to that. And then, let's see, just as far as my commissioner report goes, Jeff and I, we both got to meet Benji from Ted Bud's office, and so that was really good yesterday. Just having that connection, and he's our ag person, and hopefully he is going to hit the ground running. So I think that is all of my reports today.
Mr. Ellis.
Well, we had a rec board meeting this morning, but y'all heard the same report from just a few minutes ago. I'll be glad to read it in full again if we want to stay a while. And then I know you couldn't make it to the foundation meeting today. They are working, the Mitchell County Development Foundation is working toward another round of grants, but they've not worked out the details. They're making some changes to the application and to the process, but they're working on getting another round of grants out soon, is the hope.
One thing on that, we need to get a scan code for that group to be posted. At the autograph meeting.
And they handed out a flyer today with a QR code on it, and they also talked about updating the video. They're still continuing to work on it.
Lee, one thing, I didn't know who was gonna update Lee or Jeff. There's been several artists and farmers out in the community that they realized that the last Development Foundation grants were distributed to businesses that were storefronts, that they had asked for me to relay the message that they be considered, the Development Foundation consider opening those grants up to not just storefronts, but to any businesses throughout the county that were affected, so farmers and artists. So they just said to.
I don't think it was restricted.
I thought it was to a storefront is what the application, that's what they told me that they couldn't apply because the
I guess
application.
the artist I'm thinking of had a storefront,
Um,
but I'll follow, I'll share that information.
there you go. I think not just like the Micah Gallery or the track building, I think there's, if you participate in the track tour, there's several artists that just have, like their shops are there on site at their homes and stuff, so kind of separate, so it's not really like a storefront.
We'll bring that up for the next meeting.
Mr. Pitt,
The JCPC, we did not meet, in February. We do meet tomorrow, I believe,
Tomorrow morning,
9 o'clock.
see you then.
That's what I was thinking. Is it virtual too? Is it virtual?
Yeah, you should have a link.
That mailing, right?
You should have a link in your email, but it is virtual, and on site.
I'll check it out. My week is not working out very good for, attending. I've tried to attend everything this week and I've not done my real job a whole
Well,
lot, so.
if it helps, Mr. Pittman, I have told everybody what a wonderful person you've
My
been with
sister-
regard to our monitoring.
I appreciate the.
So you
protocol.
do get a little slack if you need it.
My sister said that you bragged on me, so I appreciate that. I was elected to the regional, board as the vice chair. I think Brandon may have served on that previously. I was like, I don't know how the hell I ended up here, cause I really don't know one thing about Vaya that, I mean, to be honest, you know. And they said, you'll be just fine, so, anyway, we've got, first meeting for that is the end of March. It's down, I think, in Burlington. We did have a meeting in January, and it was basically a one over of, here's all the things that Vaya offers, here's it's basically like an introduction for everybody that's new there, is what it was for, so. Met with Malin today, spent about, we had our third, search committee meeting today. We got, I think I can say this, we've got 33 candidates total, so we met today to kind of go through, that candidate list and narrow it down to probably, 5, 6 candidates that we're gonna bring in and interview. So those interviews will be coming, end of the month here. I think it's March 29th and 30th. There's a lot to hiring a president of a college. You gotta submit to the state and get approvals for your recommendations. So, there's a lot of things going on there with that, but it is moving forward, and got some really, really good candidates, both local and outside of here. So, excited to see how it turns out. And Main Street, I did not get to attend. I was traveling for work, so I don't have an update from the Main Street meeting. But they have been very uber focused on just trying to get anything they can going on Lower Street and getting that back to normal.
Mr. Davis, yes, sir. I have one that I have been to since our last meeting, but I have 6 more before the end of the month. So, they're all piling up at the end of the month this time. I did attend last Tuesday, the animal shelter, board meeting, and, rather lengthy meeting, but, lots of good information this time. You all will be pleased to hear about. Of course, they're still providing donations in pet food for those that do need pet food. It has gone down some, and they're sending the tractor trailer away and storing it in a shed now because the need is not quite as great as it used to be. The shelter did receive at the first of the month from ASPCA, they were awarded $24,638 in grant money for the month of March for the shelter to use with their animals and their facility. They continue to look for other avenues to raise money. For example, one of them is $5 Fridays. Amber is been on the leave of absence, but she is back. Back the 1st of March. And, they, are trying to do some donation raising to the support of the animals and for food, and for shelter. And they're gonna try to do this once a month, and for the month of March, they raised in donation $640. So, they're getting quite a bit on some donations. The spaghetti supper fundraiser event, will be at Mitchell Senior Citizen Center on April 12th from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. on a Saturday. They urge everybody to come out and support the shelter and get some good food, that night. New building updates. They're getting, a lot of donations right now for, not for the building itself, but for, maintenance, things that they're setting aside right now while they're waiting on grant money funding to be coming in. They are still working through the Mayland, College Foundation, and any other fundings they can find on the $4 million they still need before they can even start this facility. And they are looking for grant money because they do not, Avery or Mitchell, and I will reiterate that, do not want to use taxpayer money for this. They want it all to be grant money. And of course, March 29th, I will be attending again another strategic planning session, at Spruce Pine Public Library. That's on a Saturday from 10 to 2. As they're, finalizing things with budgets and, the next 3 to 5 year planning goals for the shelter. So they've got a lot going, and there are a lot of motivated people on that board, and, I will pass this along to everybody too. Mitchell County is one of the lowest rabies, the spread of rabies. We're about the lowest in the state because of Mitchell County Animal Shelter and the tactics that they have used to keep rabies low in the state of North Carolina. Mitchell County is one of the lowest. So that news came up on that as well. So, they talked about that with the health of everybody. So keeping rabies low is a top priority for them. That's all I've got.
And what time did you say the spaghetti dinner was?
5 to 7,
5 to
April
7.
12th on Saturday at the Senior Citizen Center.
Mine is very short. Army, I met yesterday with Colonel with Army Corps, Benjamin, and Justin Summers. It was quite an impressive feat. I was there also to see how the river cleanup was going. So very positive, heard a lot of positive about that. I have missed 2 of my scheduled meetings, High Country Council meeting. And the meeting today that Lee mentioned, because work-related issues, I was in class all day today for landscape contractor's license. And I'm planning on meeting with Senator Bud tomorrow. He'll be in Spruce Pine about an hour, so look forward to that. That is all for me, and we can now move on to items for discussion. First up is measures for CDL.
We talked about this a little bit when we first heard about it, and it's a community disaster loan. And this loan is for areas that have been impacted by disasters, and it is done through FEMA. It's a division of FEMA. It is a loan. And the reason I want to talk about it tonight is the time has come for us to either apply for it or not apply for it. I need the board's blessing to move forward with the application. It takes about 6 to 9 months for this to come to fruition, and that's because not only does FEMA have to approve it, it has to go to the state local government commission because it's a loan with an interest rate, so they would have to approve it as well. let me, and I'm gonna be honest with you, when I first heard about this and County Manager Cookle heard me loud and clear that I was not in favor of getting a loan at that time. Now that I have listened to several people talk about this and talk to FEMA about this, I want to present it to you and see what your thoughts are. And it's something that I personally feel like we don't need to say no to before we look at it. This, based on the formula that they use, it's 25% of your operating budget up to 5 million. So I do feel like we will qualify for the full 5 million. It is a 5-year note that can be extended to 10 years if you need to. The rate is based on the flat Fed rate, which is right now 2%. As I understand it, this is a loan that if we take it, they do not upfront the money. We would draw down on it as we need it. When you draw down on it, that's the rate, whatever that rate is at the time that you would incur on that.
We get to keep the interest, right? We can put it
Yes.
somewhere and set it.
Yes, yes.
Sign us up.
Um,
Put it like a spit. There's a lot of interest.
according to this loan can be used for any operational expense. It's purely operational money. In other words, it can go towards salaries, utilities, operation costs, because it is a known fact that during a disaster, our revenues are gonna go down. So what I have to do and what they look at is and I've already sent them the 3 years prior to the storm, our financials. And now what I have to do if we apply for the loan is we'll have to project our next 3 years of revenues. And what they're looking for is they feel like that your revenues for the next 3 years, your loss is gonna be greater than 5% for the next several years. And we do feel like that is true. Let's see. The other interesting thing is as of September of 2021, 90% of these disaster loans have been forgiven. I do not know the criteria for the forgiveness, but there's a very good chance that 5 years from now, they may forgive the loan. So I guess the way I look at it is like this, and I guess why I changed my mind about it is I sure would not want to say no, and in 5 years, maybe have cost the county $5 million. And on the other hand, if they don't forgive it, it's money that we could use to operate on until our revenues do become whole again, which that may take 5 years. So either way, I think it's something that we should consider, and I think we should apply for it.
Mr. Chair, if I may add to that, as you know, I work with some smaller governmental entities that don't have the fund reserves or the asset reserves of the county. And several of them have done this loan and taken that out. One of the main reasons that was justified to them is FEMA has 2 different tracks for things. One is you can front the money and pay the project and get reimbursed. The other is if you don't have the money, FEMA has a process where they will perform a number of inspections, give you half the money and let you work through it. And though I hesitate to use the word fast track and FEMA in the same sentence, situations in which we can front the money and be reimbursed move quicker with FEMA than those where we have to wait for FEMA to approve an advance based upon a specific project. So that's one of the justifications that other municipalities in the region have used for taking out this loan, in addition to what we've presented to you. I don't know if you wish to add to that or
I feel like you're right. And that's how I felt in the beginning. We do have a fund balance that we can draw off of, and we're gonna have to. So rather than to draw off of that, you know, if we use this loan, it would keep our reserves whole during this period of time, and we could use someone else's money during this period of time. And the other thing is, you know, there's a good possibility, I feel like that, you know, you never know what's gonna happen in the future. But this is a very large disaster, and I think we would stand as good a chance as any other disaster for it being forgiven in the future. And we may decide, you know, it's gonna take 6 to 9 months, the guy told me, to possibly get this loan in place. And then it may be another year before we decide to draw off of it. And then and that's something that we'll have to talk about. Do we draw part of it or all of it? And Steve's right, at this point in time, if the Fed rate's 2%, I'm earning 4% on our reserves. So it's, you know, kind of a no-brainer, but the rates can change at any time, so you can't, you know. But you are locked in. If you draw that money down at 2%, then that's gonna be your rate.
If you do not access the money, it does not cost you anything.
Does not cost you anything if you do not access it.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's an insurance policy or a safety blanket is another way to look at it.
Mhm.
How is it paid back?
It is, and I looked for that, and I wrote it down somewhere, and I don't remember, but it's something like 10% the first year and maybe 20% the next year. It's kind of a, yeah, it's a very low payback.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
not a lot.
Yeah.
And I had that somewhere.
It's kind of like if you had your personal loan, if you can get money at 2% right now, if you're just looking at it through them lens, that's a good rate to have money or have the access to the money should you need it. And just that alone is you know, just a real common sensical look at it, it's a real fly over look.
Chairman, are you looking for a vote?
Is everybody through? I got Kendra.
I need to, right.
Yeah.
Well, the board will have 2 opportunities. Number 1, I need the approval to proceed with the application. There's a questionnaire that I'll have to fill out, and then we'll have to actually project revenues all for the next 3 years and send to them. And then, once the loan goes through the process, and at such time it gets approved, then you will have another opportunity. You will have to bless the approval of that loan for us to actually take it. So this one's a little bit different. You have to give me permission to apply, and then, once we get it, you have to approve accepting the loan, I guess is how you're gonna say it.
Okay, but you only need one approval tonight, correct?
One tonight.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the CDL loan? So moved. Second. Thank you, all in favor?
Okay, can I go ahead and tell you some other good news real quick? The North Carolina Treasury cash flow loan, you remember that one? 2.8 million that the Treasury Department set aside. Those funds arrived today. So that one has already.
That
That was a lot easier. So that was good.
Maybe have to pay for some of your equipment, we get up loads, get some interest, we get some stuff.
For your food side, your next item is not to exceed.
Yeah, let's just dwell right here on this item. Let's just stay right here on item A for a minute.
Okay, let's move on to B before we get in trouble. Not to exceed SDR increase to complete, I will turn that over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. So yeah, I'm phasing out SDR, SDR has been replaced by Crowder Gulf, but as they phase out, there's a lot of bills coming in, a lot of billing, you know how that is when you have a big operation. They will be, grinding the sites. They'll be, doing final payout and basically on that, not to exceed. So you can't have a, not to exceed less than the final bill. Because it's don't run right on your paperwork when you're reimbursing on things, so as we hedge in that final bill, we have to move that not to exceed in relationship to the billing, so that's what that is, and I would need a board vote to, keep the not to exceed in line with the billing, and that's what this is.
So,
You
no,
got
go
a
ahead.
question?
Yeah,
Okay,
so the final payment, we will hold that until the property owner's property is mitigated back to the original state.
So yeah, I foresee that what's happening with a lot of these property owners
Mhm.
is White Lake, for example.
Yeah.
It's going over to Ashbridge. So there's gonna be the property owner's gonna take on a new lease, but yeah, we would definitely wanna make sure our property owners,
If there's nobody that's continuing on
Yeah.
with them.
that our property owners are fine with, the exiting of that property where those debris sites were, and I'm sure the billing will go out in phases, like we'll get, debris tech's got one coming up here on the agenda. You got, SDR, and as they get their final bills and it rolls out over the course of 1 to 2 months, you're gonna see that, and typically when we start getting towards that final bill, and we're starting to ask some questions and make sure these citizens come to us, or they come to the board with issues, let me know, let Mavis know.
any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on line item B, not to exceed SDR, increase to complete. I'll make a motion, do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? All right, 11C. Very excited to have county manager talk about this.
Yes.
Fire orders for Mitchell County.
Thank you, Chair, and I've got a fire marshal and some fire chiefs in here, so, we have a new burn ordinance in here, and I talked to our county attorney, and I said, well, county attorney, do we have to jump through all these hoops of public hearings and stuff for this ordinance? And he says, no, as soon as your board votes on it, it goes into effect. So, I want y'all to know that we've got a lot of concerns about burning that is a risk to safety. So you'll see on a dry, tomorrow, for example, somebody wants to torch a brush pile off. Well, I'm sure the state's probably gonna have the humidity will be low enough to where everything will be in place. But let's say you put a burn pile near a downed trees that are 200 acres and it's unsafe, then this gives us the authority in a state of emergency, being the key word, and Mitchell County is in a state of emergency. We're holding our state of emergency, and a locally declared one, or state declared, or federally declared, that gives our fire marshal the authority to stop burning. So, I'm gonna read a little bit of this. Whereas County of Mitchell is a body politic and corporation of the state of North Carolina, and whereas Mitchell County is authorized to enact ordinances to protect health, welfare, and safety of its citizens. Whereas the county is further authorized to take steps to mitigate and respond to natural disasters and other states of emergency pursuant to Chapter 166A of North Carolina General Statutes. Whereas in the wake of Tropical Storm Helene, Mitchell County has suffered an exceptional amount of fallen and overturned trees, which greatly increases the risk of wildfires, uncontrolled fire within Mitchell County. And whereas the general statute does not permit local governments in North Carolina from establishing burn bans within their corporate limits.
Mr. Manager, that does not prohibit.
Does not prohibit. Yeah, that's an important phrase, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, County Attorney. Whereas Mitchell County lacks the necessary manpower and resources to respond to a major forest fire, which raises concerns for safety, property, welfare, and citizens of Mitchell County. Whereas in order to quickly and timely respond to changes in weather and other conditions, it is appropriate to adopt an ordinance which delegates authority to impose a burn ban in Mitchell County to the county fire marshal as appropriate. So, these are the whereas, this is the reason behind it. It's during a state of emergency, and, our county attorney has written this thing up, and we're gonna need it voted on and signed. I can read another page of it if y'all wanna hear it. It won't take me a few minutes if the citizens and the board would like to hear that.
I think go ahead and do it.
Okay, so burning regulations, section 1A, purpose, its intent and purpose of this ordinance is to enact fire control provisions which shall protect the health and safety of the residents of the county during times of hazardous forest fire conditions or during air pollution episodes as declared by the Mitchell County Fire Marshal. Restrictions, it shall be unlawful for any person to start or cause to be started any fire or ignite any material, to engage in brush pile burning, the burning of other debris, the maintenance of any fire, and the starting of any fires within the county during periods of hazardous forest fire conditions or during air pollution episodes as declared by the Mitchell County Fire Marshal. Notice, notice, the Mitchell County Fire Marshal may impose a burning ban as described in this ordinance and shall communicate that decision to the North Carolina Forest Service and Mitchell County Emergency Management. Penalty, the following penalties apply to the violation of this ordinance. Any person who shall violate the provisions of this ordinance shall be guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by a fine not more than $500, nor imprisonment not more than 30 days in the discretion of the court as provided in General Statute 14-4. County may impose civil penalties of $500 per violation against the violator and property owner. Each day's continuing violation shall be considered a separate violation for the purposes of this penalty. And finally, the county may also file a civil action seeking an injunction and order of abatement. The cost of any such action and any related civil penalties shall be collected in the manner of unpaid taxes.
Okay, guys, anybody discussion?
Chairman, can I speak as president of the Fire Association?
Yes, sir.
I think it's great. And so I've been working with the town for this in the city, Spruce Pine. Me as fire chief and as fire chiefs, my biggest concern before this or without this, somebody's burning outside. And we're neighbors calling, we go, so you're dangerous, probably need to put it out. I have no way to make them put it out. And I know it's dangerous, everybody knows there's some people don't use best judgments all the time. This would give the authority to make them put it out until it's safer to them. I'm all for cleaning up debris. Best way to mitigate the fire danger is clean it up. Best way to do it is burn. You gotta burn it on days you need to burn, and on days you don't need to burn, don't burn. So I applaud this.
And I can speak to that on Josh's side from that previous statement was. North Carolina Fire Code enables fire marshal to order the extinguishment of any fire they deem as hazardous. So we have that in our pocket too. Josh finds that. Obviously, my job as well as inspections contracted in the town of Spruce Pine. So that's great. That's another inspect.
It gives me a little power
Gotta have some
to
people.
put it out. Or gives Andrew, gives me the power to put a fire out.
You get it too now.
But if somebody, I mean, I would like to think everybody will use best judgment and know how that goes. I'll give people the benefit of the doubt. Most of the time, somebody's burning, it's hazardous. We go to them and say, hey, so well, if you probably don't need to be burning today, they'll usually put it out. So hopefully we won't have any reason to use this, but it's a great thing to have if we have to.
I just have a couple questions that I feel like somebody's gonna probably ask me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and ask them. Oh, I can refer to the video. How long is this valid for?
Well, this ordinance would remain in effect until it's changed or amended by the commissioners, as far as the ordinance delegation.
And then, I should write them down. Does this mean that people cannot burn whatsoever, or how do you come to that determination?
So what I would do, to think about this, if you're gonna enact this, so you have that right because it's stricter, you're making a law that's stricter, right? You guys know, you can make something worse, you just can't make it easier, you've got a minimum, so that's a footage, if board wants to set it to enforce, if you wanna leave that to mobs to delineate that footage, I wouldn't think it was nothing astronomical, if you want to be a blank. If you wanna say, you don't get to do outdoor burning in Michigan, that's up to you, and we'll enforce it to the pleasure of the board. You know, what we had was just outside of 100 feet of the structure. Once you got to 101 foot, you could burn a 10-acre field if you wanted to, and that's what we were kind of pushing for in this ordinance. Was to say that, hey, there are dangers still there even past that 100 feet, and the Forest Service assumes that from 100 feet on, but they're not always up to putting a burn ban in, and I'm not real sure why. I don't work for them, but this would give you that blanket, say, hey, we're making this stricter. There's a county imposed burn ban, you've got a county ordinance to enforce it, don't need the Forest Service to have one.
Well, you know, just my opinion on that question, Martin. And I didn't mean to interrupt, but, I'll forget what I'm gonna say about it.
You're good.
You know, I think we're gonna take this thing serious. We've heard from Josh, heard from him 3 times, counting tonight, to the town of Spruce Pine. I know I talked to Andrew, he's been concerned. I think we all are fearful of what could happen. That would be bad, potentially. And before you correct me if I'm wrong, I think if we vote on this and pass this tonight, and that gives Andrew the authority to issue a burn ban, and the burn ban's county-wide, and don't be burning anything. Now,
In certain circumstances, don't need to be burned. Tomorrow will be a prime.
and that'll be, you know, that'll be up to him, it'll be up to him to notify. There could be some variance on the first occasion with an individual that you don't impose the fine. You give a warning, but the second time the fine's clearly stated and what could happen there, and it happens every occurrence. So that's my
That
thought on
was-
that, Harley.
That was where my next question was going is, you know, if there's not been any previous calls to said residents, is there gonna be that leniency?
Sure, so what I've been doing, to enforce that inside of 100 foot, like I said, outside of that's legal, so the only time I ever get called is when it's within that, I've only had 1 repeat offender. They received the citation, be paid to Mitchell County. Everybody gets the grace on the first time. And everybody has social media, try to have great, you know, involvement with the public, try to take that. There was a crazy brewer man this morning on North 226, decided to burn off his garden. That was a great call. Go get down there and tell this brewer, put it down. He was. But honestly, a lot of people are malicious. You know, everybody has the leaves. People have a garden spot. People have the little sticks in their yard, and they think, and that's the most proficient way. Man ain't gonna load a half a load of brush and a pickup truck. He's gonna burn it. And people have been super understanding about this because people realize the danger that we're in. But yes, the way I've always approached it, Stephanie's gone. They have a log. If I went to this address, and they said, hey, we went there last week. So we went out there and I got them to pull up the call notes through 911. Turns out they had, you know, and they understand a lot better and they're not burning. Not a lot of repeat offenders. And I will take this, the commissioners may know, the wildfire that started last week wasn't through illegal burning. No bad intent, just an honest accident. He'll deal with the Forest Service over that, but it wasn't anything. It was, nobody was burning something they shouldn't have. And you don't have a lot of it. Like everybody knows when it's gonna rain though, and they'll light up like 40 in one night. We went all over the county 2 weeks ago before that big rain, but it's a lot of common sense and people are fearful as they should be, and it's really not been that horrific, but there's conditions like tomorrow, well, why wouldn't you be able to put out a burn ban? I mean, there's gonna be, we're spread as thin as we could be, and it's gonna be a horrific day for fire. Good day to burn stuff, bad day to set anything on fire. So, you know, I appreciate you guys' willingness to look at this.
I look at it in my district. Somebody's burning and there is a burn ban and we get called, I go there and say, well, there's a burn ban, I'll put it out. They put it out, I ain't calling Andrew. They start giving me flack about putting it out. I'm calling Andrew and he's coming in and say, hey, there is a ban, you need to put it out. If they don't put it out, then guess what? We're gonna put it out and you have to face this consequence. I'm not there to find you. I'm not there to punish you. That's why people use best judgment, and if they're not, I want to be able to help them use best judgment.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Please.
the ordinance is another tool that's, in the tool chest for the fire chiefs and for the fire marshal related to this. For the penalties that are in here, that is certainly what I would consider a worst case scenario, because generally speaking, as, Chief Boone has said, you ask most folks, they'll understand and they'll cooperate when you explain it to them. This ordinance will give a little bit more of an impetus to say, you need to put this out now, or this will happen. And it becomes less of a, I'm asking you politely rather than I'm telling you politely, you need to do this. And then for folks that ignore us and it gets out of hand, these penalties are the worst case scenario of how do we do that. I'm mindful that I believe everyone in here is cognizant and wishes to protect private property rights. But that goes both ways between folks being able to do with their property what they want and also not burning their neighbor's property out. So if there's something that keeps me awake at night, it's the fire risk that you folks have all described with the heavy tree load that's out there. And this ordinance tries to strike the balance between conditions that are appropriate to burn so that we can perhaps dispose of some of this debris safely, with also making sure that when conditions are not safe to burn, that folks do not burn. So that's the goal of what's before you today. And hopefully, the penalty section doesn't need to come into effect. However, it's drafted in such a way that we can get someone's attention if we have to.
Josh, I can't imagine many people give you much flack. When you're gonna talk to them about burning the fire, I think they would probably, fall in love.
Nah.
But if it is, I'd like to meet them, Okay, if there's no more questions or discussion, I'll need a motion for item C, burn ordinance for Mitchell County.
Make a motion.
I need a second. Second. Thanks, Steve. All in favor? Okay, that is effective at 8:02 p.m.
I would like for the PR to maybe notate a post to go out on social media so that it's clearly
Yep.
explained for the citizen.
If you do,
I will. That's the only, the only question I have about that, if, while this is going forward just for administration, like tomorrow, would be a prime example of issuing a burn ban or living ban. When we revert off of that burn ban, we want to step back to the pre-established 100-foot mark. Would you like that mark to increase? What would you like the standard to be? Because tomorrow, I'm satisfied with saying, don't set anything on fire anywhere in the county. It's gonna rain Thursday, burning something. I'm just like Mr. Vickers said, I don't wanna be that guy that's, you're safe. A lot of people have common sense. I don't wanna be the guy that says you can't burn anything on your land when it presents a present danger. It's a very different case.
Well,
So my question would be, where would you want that, like
I think
tomorrow?
that's your call.
Okay, that's fine. I
We
just
pass the ordinance tonight, it's up to you guys, you're the one in the field that sees this, we're not at your knowledge, would I be correct in saying that, Paul?
Yes, sir, that's correct. And if you wish to have a fire ban to be effective, for tomorrow, I'm mindful that the News Journal is present with us, and perhaps, the decisions to your intent for tomorrow might be appropriate for them to help us publicize that.
Sure,
If you
absolutely.
don't mind.
Absolutely, and it's gonna be a trial run tomorrow, people are gonna run like crazy.
We need to
But
get
the
it out.
paper is already
WTO,
printed, so this would be like a social media thing.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
WKYK needs to be notified, David needs to get it out quickly in the morning, get ahold of Bruce. And let them know.
Wear your green pants and fill up your truck, so I'm like.
I appreciate that, guys.
Okay, let's move on to item 11. 1-3 5-year plan. So it's on your iPads,
Reference schedule, first worksheet.
but I'm scared, because I'm sorry I did. We get tired of all thinking, county manager, schedule, budget workshop dates.
Chair, are these, budget workshop dates for May? Is it May? That we're scheduling?
Mavis.
Budget workshop.
Dates.
It's up to you.
Is it in May typically?
We'll have to do them in May
Okay.
because your ENR is
Oh, yeah,
last
that's be after that.
2 weeks of April.
So I know that Mavis has to send the public notice out by the 15th, is that correct, Mavis?
Of May.
Okay,
Right.
the 15th of May, so we need to work back from that.
How many days, Mavis?
No, that's fine. What I'll have to do on the 15th is send the notice to the paper about the public hearing. We have to get it out. It's got to run in the paper and we've got to get it out a couple weeks ahead of time. The only thing that we're pushed for is Alan needs to formally present the budget message and the budget to you guys by the 30th of May. That's the drop dead day. Hopefully you won't wait that long, but you can do it anytime the last week in May. So work back from that.
So do we need 2 budget workshops? Typically, is that what we do?
Typically you do 2. One, we kind of handle outside agency requests and one we pretty much do the inside and make the final decisions, but you can do it however you want. That's up to the pleasure of the board.
Lee, Dale, what you guys thinking? This is gonna be your first one, so I'm assuming that you want at least more than one. Okay. I assume that.
Even though I
Covering it
attended-
all is too much. in
Yeah,
one
even though I attended last year, you know, still, I wasn't up here. Like I wasn't, you know, we just listening.
I think, I mean, it's easy, so we gotta figure it out.
Okay, we can see.
Okay,
Or call you in
That-
here.
that'd be fine, we just create schedule.
So we've got a regular meeting on the 5th, which is our DSS and our regular scheduled meeting. What does everybody's schedule look like to do the first one sometime after that Monday?
After the 5th,
So we would need to do, if I hear Mavis correctly, we'd need to do 2 budget workshops between the 6th
and the 15th.
and, yeah, the 15th. Or a night that works better for you guys. Could we leave the 20th we meet on the 20th, right?
Yes,
So can we leave that one open as like a tentative in case we need another budget workshop, and then if we don't, can we cancel it, since it's already regular scheduled?
well,
So that would.
can we do that on the 20th, because if she's gotta release a notice for a public hearing on the 15th.
That's just the notice that goes to the paper, which will run the next 2 weeks.
The hearing starts on the 1st, right, of June?
The public hearing for the budget will be May at your or your June 2nd meeting. So that's why I have to run it in the paper 2 weeks prior to that.
Okay.
The thing that you have to do, if you cancel the 20th meeting, you're gonna have to schedule a meeting sometime, a special meeting sometime the last week in May for Alan to present the budget message and the budget to you. It has to be presented to you by May 30th.
Let me ask you a question. If we have a budget workshop the first week of May, and then again the second week of May, we're scheduled to meet on the 20th. Could Alan do his thing on the 20th?
He could.
Okay.
If you've got to give us, we have to have your final decisions though in time for Alan to write that and for me to put the final numbers in.
Yeah, I'll need probably about 6 hours to wrap that up.
So if we did a meeting,
Oh, did I do that?
That's about 6 hours to run the numbers.
so hypothetically, if we did a meeting on either the,
So,
if
yeah.
we're gonna meet as commissioners, Commissioner DSS on the fifth. You guys really wanna meet on the sixth, or would you like to take a couple of days break?
I need at least one day from you guys.
I agree. So what if we do the eighth and the 13th?
There's nothing on my schedule yet, so.
So let's grab it before you get set.
So are we gonna call in outside agencies and do it early to where we can bring them all in, or are we gonna start at 5 or?
I personally would rather hear outside agencies before, so that we just know what everybody's requesting, and then we do what our needs are for like the county, and that way we've got all the information.
We
At
have
that
them do the
second.
eighth,
Yeah,
county agencies the eighth.
I'd rather hear the outside agencies
Or I
first.
mean, I meant to
Yeah.
say, Harley. So you guys gonna do a budget workshop on the eighth of May?
You'll try to start a little earlier than the normal.
Lord, I'd love
I would
to.
love for that to happen.
I think we should.
What time can you guys be here? What works for everybody?
Have open availability.
I know you've got bus conflict, so what works for you?
I'm be here by 4.
Okay,
4 sounds good.
4 o'clock, Thursday night.
Both days.
Sounds good to me.
And can you guys do the 13th at the same time?
Yeah, I don't know how to think on there.
Okay.
Okay, in the next, outside agencies are, their requests are due to me by, I think it's April the 16th or 18th. So when I get those in, I think what I'll do in the past is do the same as I've done in the past. I'll compile those, email them to you, so you have an opportunity to look at them. Once you review those, then can you let, Alan or myself know which ones you want to come in personally? Do you want them all, or do you just want to do the larger requests like we've done in the past?
So as far as outside agencies, you've got Toe River Health, you've got the library, animal shelter, EDC, school,
Malin,
Nayland. Is there one more? Forest Service and solar water.
I think personally, my opinion, Mayor, Board of Education, Total Health District. I think all the others are gonna be pretty well cut and dry unless you, two commissioners wanna hear from somebody else, or if you wanna hear from somebody else.
Tentatively, I don't know about the library yet, we haven't done any budget workshops, so if it's gonna be a big increase for them, then I would like to hear from them, but I don't suspect that they're gonna be that big of an increase.
I'm good with whatever you guys decide on.
and once you see the request, you can always add someone if something.
Yeah, so-
There's,
You know, red flag would come up, like you mentioned, already the library,
yeah,
all of a sudden the number jumps off the chart. Yeah, bring them in and say, okay, what's going on?
Jake, what'd you say,
Okay.
Maitland, Toe River, what was the third one you said?
Board of Education,
Oh, yeah.
because EDC should be pretty well standard cut, shouldn't it? Okay. Soil waters usually pretty cut and dry, forest are cut and dry. That's
Animal
our
shelter is too, yeah, pretty much. I'll speak on that. They're expecting, you know, about the same as what they discussed that the other night, they're expecting about what they normally get. The past years.
It'd be very nice if everybody could stay or go down just a little bit. I know that's a huge ask, but if you could just stay the same, that would be helpful. All right,
Do we need to vote on that?
mhm.
No, we just needed to set them, okay.
yes,
And those will be, people need to send out special meeting because it will be, they'll be public. And the other thing is, Alan, we'll need to decide where we're gonna have these at.
Well,
We have no space.
by May 13th, I could have us in Bowman in a
A
classroom.
room available for us to meet
We'll
over
see
there.
what it looks like. No, y'all, maybe it's not kind of primitive, but we'll have plenty of space.
Well, though, for outside agencies to come in, Is that gonna,
I think,
you still,
I think we'll be all right.
What about A&R, man? We got the same problem with A&Rs.
I should have Bowman set up by the end of next week, I think, with some general office meeting space and some things on there and maybe work with it. Feeling good about it.
And I know this is not on the agenda, but something to think of when they discuss it later. Does everybody have their times down for A&R? And days I don't. So let's
all day, right?
okay, I'll get with Dave and see what's up. Not get with her. Okay, guys. So much about the dog. Lee.
Let's pick up the pace.
Okay, let's move on to line item A, Commissioners 1 through 5-year plan. Do you have any discussion on the 1 year? Because if you go down the list, it looks like, fire mitigation, Forest Service plan is in the work, level 3 building inspector. The Bowman project. Revised emergency management disaster plan, I think. They said they could have that ready for us already by, what, the end, if not the first of the year.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you go down through there and look at that, are there any things that you guys want to point out that we are not currently doing, or that we need to discuss?
In what context is normalcy?
Well, if anybody can figure that out, that's a pretty good one, isn't it?
I heard that.
We'd say old.
The new normal.
Yeah. I feel like we got some really good government, got a lot of work ahead of us here, to get these over.
Now, in the first year, I say, law enforcement center, Allen, we're getting them ribbon cutting.
We're gonna get one, I'm waiting for the final CO, I don't wanna have a temporary certificate, I want the finals with the handicap access moving into it, so. We're getting there.
There was one thing that just popped in my head where it's, talking about good appointments. Have we done our yearly meeting with the town?
I've reached out to Chuck and Bill both today.
Okay. I know we have to do that once a year, I think.
Yeah. Thing. Strikes you fancy?
Not right off, it doesn't.
Steve? Lee? Harley?
Now I'll look forward to seeing you guys to complete the 5-year one.
Yeah. Harley.
I'm gonna see it down here.
3 years. Okay, do we want to, stuff you guys think about, do we want to do quarterly town and county board meetings? Okay. Do we want to do an annual meeting, town, county, EDC, Spruce Pine Main Street, Bama, TDA for a strategic plan? I think that we are working with the towns with the help of county manager, to restore the parks. And that we want to work with EDC, Mayland, Towns and High School to train, equip, and this will be a meeting to equip our workforce. You know, we need to probably talk about those if we want to do those and get them. Let Deidre, well, put put those down. Something else that I'm gonna mention that is not in here, and I'm fine with whatever this board thinks, okay? But I had it as my one-year plan. I went back and checked my paper. Does this board want to consider and work with county manager and the attorney for some type of corridor zoning? Or you guys want to leave that alone? And like I said, I'm fine either way. I brought it up. And if y'all want to do it, we'll put it down there and get instruction. If you don't want to do it, then let's forget about it. Any thought?
I'd like to understand that a little better before
Okay,
I'm not sure that, I'm ready to say, Chip, without
Okay.
a little bit more education on it.
would you like the county attorney or the county manager or both to provide more information on that to either the board or individually?
Whatever y'all think, but both of them, any help I could get on it would be.
Yes, sir, I can speak to that now generally, or I can prepare something more specific, or I could just have telephone calls with individual commissioners, at your pleasure. By way of just general introduction to this, land use planning, follows a certain set of statutes, that deal with essentially what folks can do on their property and what those regulations would be. As a county, you don't have to adopt a county-wide plan. You can do a certain area that would be a land use plan. And I believe the topic for discussion would be, for example, your highway corridors. If you were to set a distance from those corridors, you can make that your zoning district if you chose to do so, and have that 100 feet, 200 feet, however wide you would want that to be. And generally speaking, the adoption of zoning would, for that area, would divide things into what is a compatible use for this area? Is it going to be industrial, commercial, or residential? And also what would be setback requirements, landscaping requirements. For things that are non-residential, you could have architectural requirements as to what kind of materials folks could use. So for example, if you wanted stone walls and cedar shakes as opposed to a modernist glass office building, you could set what that would be under those regulations. If you want to adopt that, the first step would be the creation of a planning board, because you're required to have a planning board to give input, review, and a recommendation on any proposed zoning area. So it can be as broad or as restricted as you wish it to be, and it can also be limited to a specific area for where those regulations are. And all that is within your discretion as the Board of Commissioners on how you want to do that. So I'm mindful it can be a touchy subject at times, and is something you may want to proceed with thoughtfully if you choose to do so.
And I want to make a statement, especially while the paper's sitting here. It was not Jeff Harding's intent when he mentioned corridor zoning to limit or tell anybody what they could do as stated by the paper, or the expense as stated by the paper, that the construction cost would go up. Jeff Harding's intent with this is clean your junk pile up. Bottom line. Your property joins 19A, your property joins 226. You ride the road, you see it. So for clarification in the paper, it was my intent with this to not go into everything Mr. Edwards said. It was my intent to clean your junk piles up and clean your property up and keep it looking neat. So that's all I'm gonna say. We'll move on to the 3-year plan for you guys to look at.
I did have one question on the backup real quick,
Okay.
the first year. So Alan, since the last time that we brought up a level 3 building inspector, the state has changed the guidelines as far as what is qualified, and I don't know the verbiage, but it was qualified as far as being inspected here, and so the number of projects that we are contracting out for level 3 is now less than what it was, correct?
So, yeah, now, if I just went and did a quick explanation. State has seen that there is a major shortage of level 3s, and they've allowed the level 2s to take on more inspection types. So basically now a level 2 can inspect, I would say, 85 to 90% of what a level 3 can inspect now. So what that's done is it's enabled our folks to get inspections in the morning instead of waiting until 4:30 and stuff like that for most of their inspections. I think the limitation is if it's over 4 stories where the project is being not on the grounds of the project, but if the project's in a 4-story or greater building, then level 3 is required, I think, if I remember correctly. But yes, the state has done some restructuring of how that goes. So it is a lot different, and it has freed up the timeframes with our folks. You know, it's like I said, used to you'd wait for a level 3 concrete inspection, and you know, it'd be 4:30 to make sure it was. Now we can do one in the morning and get that for the same day. So it has saved a little bit on the contract end too of the contract level 3 inspectors we have.
So with 4 stories, that would be what, the hospital, I'm assuming Sabelco, what other buildings in the county currently would have to be contracted for level 3 inspections if it's 4 stories?
So yeah, I think there's not as many 4-story buildings, and I think we were trying to think on that, and I bet you probably count them on one hand, 2 hands, stuff that's 4 stories or greater that would be of a commercial nature, not a residential nature.
Now, did it limit it to 4 stories, or are there other variations?
That might be a 4 question on that.
I can bring up, I might have that on email to tell you right now. Let me just do that. I got Dylan to write me up write me up what it meant from his perspective, so I'll look that up. Let me get verified in on my stuff here. Makes me.
While you're looking that up, Mavis, when does the school board have to have their budget in?
They don't have to by statute till May 10th, but they usually try to get it to us before the end of the year.
Reading a little bit about this, and I'll try to forward this out to y'all too. The Code Officials Qualification Board has implemented a new qualification structure for inspection certificate levels effective retroactively January 1st, 2025. Under this new system, level 1 will be strictly residential and level 2 will be strictly commercial, while level 3 remains unchanged. One aspect that has changed is there is no square footage limitation on what a level 2 can inspect, only a 4-story height restriction. And I will forward this to the board because it's got a rule sheet to it and a YouTube of the dialogue in the meeting.
Saving us money. I guess I have a question that you probably don't know the answer to off the top of your head, but do you happen to know just a ballpark of what we're contracting for level 3 building inspector right now? I didn't know. I didn't know if we're looking like 100,000 or 30,000 or like.
I have no idea.
Could you have those exact numbers by the next board meeting? Broken
Right,
down,
I'll go get them.
broken down in travel. I mean,
We're on the fly, buddy. We'll get you.
Mavis is on it.
Okay, well, Mavis is getting information, guys, and Alan will speed this process up. We don't want to be here again till 10 o'clock tonight. And you can keep Well, that's okay with everybody. Look at your 3-year plan. Anything you guys wanna add, talk about, or adjust?
Bowman and the transportation center are my two big ones.
Okay. Well, we made one completion, Harley, law enforcement center.
Yeah.
And in probably a year, recreation will be completed by September. And I think in 2 years.
I think
No,
I would like to see Bowman done in 2 years.
so anybody else want to go that? You gonna need adjustments, Speedy?
No, sir.
Okay. Picking on you tonight.
County manager, you guys got the old.
Okay, what about your 5-year plan? I know Mr. Blevins has got probably, his was number 1 on there.
Still, let's see, 226 wide. At least into a 3-lane. Keep traffic flowing, it gets worse every day,
Yes.
every day.
In the internet.
I left my house this morning at 7:14. So you want that to be number 2? 7 minutes from the school. Where do you want to write that on there, Lee? At 8:28. You want to put that in front of the list again?
No. I would like to see it. Well, they're all pretty critical. Maybe, no, it's good.
Okay.
I think that, I tried to bring it with me, but, Kathy Young gave Danny Burleson a grant for us to look into for, high-speed internet.
Does it have to do with Starlinks by chance?
No, I didn't think so.
There's another one I see.
There's a cap for it, it's going on.
Yes.
Did we have to vote on planning board?
No, sir.
Companies that own
It's more of a guy. Rather than a state line.
So they gave me 2, so maybe one of them was. But, the one.
If it's okay with the board, let's move on to 11F. While Mavis is getting the information, we'll switch back to her when she gets back. The NTE for debris monitoring by debris tech, county manager.
Yes, sir, Chairman. So the not to exceed for debris monitoring, so you have a debris hauler and you have a debris monitor. The debris monitor watches and ensures that FEMA guidelines are met. So the work can be reimbursed through the FEMA. So as we moved Debris Tech, the monitoring company, while SDR is phasing out, Debris Tech's taking on Crowder Gulf's workload. So they're continuing to bring up they're incurring invoices, so therefore that price is raising, so therefore we have a new NTE. We'll probably have a few more as y'all see it over the next 4 months or so. And I need a motion to approve the NTE from this board.
Any questions for Alan? We'll have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Dale. We'll have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Harley. All in favor? Vote passes. Mavis, if you have some information, we'll circle back to you.
I'll just send you away, Charlie. I'll just hand you this. We've spent $12,060
This year?
this year from July 1st until now. I think I made enough tonight. $12,060.07.
I thought that was gonna be a lot higher.
Wow.
All right, folks, let's move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as stated? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Finance officer's report.
I don't have anything.
Mavis has nothing. County manager's report.
I'm gonna just say this, and number one, we have a town hall Thursday. Next week, the 27th at Bowman Auditorium.
Okay.
I think we set that for, was that 5 or 6 p.m.? I think I did it for 6 p.m. Let me look on my schedule to be sure real quick. Town hall is at, 6 p.m. is what it's showing on my schedule, so. On the 27th, that is the 6-month anniversary of Helene. We'll have a town hall at Bowman, and there's just a lot going on that I wanna make sure the citizens know about. And we'll have several, folks in the room talking about various phases of disaster recovery. So if you can make it to the town hall, hopefully we'll have that live stream, and, you can always catch it on the live stream. And I think, Kelly, Jones will have a question, 6 p.m. Thursday next week. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about debris. We have a debris hotline, and I want you to be able to call that hotline for anything in the entire county related to debris. 828-537-1441. Some important things on this hotline. If you have debris in your yard, in and around your house, that's a fire risk, that's a fire load near your house. That qualifies for private property debris removal. And basically, you'll do is you'll call this number that I gave you. And you will get, on the list, they'll give you a online sign, or you can sign a paper, come by. For right of entry and hold harmless for them to come onto your property and remove that debris. Also, that same number, we're doing a lot of streamside waterway debris. If you have washed up debris from the creek that you own the access into that creek, the Corps of Engineers, will come into that creek and clean up debris, and they'll clean it up on the banks if you sign the right of entry. So I'll say this, if you have property that borders the creek, call that 800 number and let the Corps get in there and get that off of your property. There is a right of entry. If you have questions about that right of entry, we have folks at that number that can answer your questions. So we're trying to move debris off of your property. Now, with that said, if you don't sign a right of entry, we respect the fact of property rights, but there is a permission that Division of Environmental Quality is giving, debris removal to go up the creek. So they can drive up through the creek without having to get permission. They just can't go on land unless there's a right of entry. So if they're going up this stream and, you have a ton of debris on the side, make sure you get down there and let them get that debris off your place. There's also an email if you got questions, restore@mitchellcountync.gov. Same group will give you the right of entry forms. So, make sure you do that. That's stream access. A big need in Mitchell County is for sites to, put vegetative debris. So if you have 3 or 4 acres, it's not in a swamp and it has easy access off the road. The Corps of Engineers would, they'd be willing to lease that from you in most cases. They'd have to check it out. But you can email me, the county manager, or come by my office. And if you got a site, they pay decent rent by the acre and pretty good going rates, and they'll clean it up. As Harley said earlier, they'll have to bring it back to its original state. So there is some money to be made if you got you some debris sites anywhere near the streams. They need a lot of debris sites. So if you have debris sites, let me know. They're asking me to tell the community, say, get us sites to store debris. They're pulling tons of stuff out of these creeks. Yep, so we got right of way debris removal. Crowder Gulf is in the area doing the entire county. And they're moving lots of debris. They have big equipment. They have safety protocols in place. The Corps of Engineers, if you get up there around the town of Spruce Pine and get down in that river and look at some of that equipment, they got some really neat equipment they're using out in those streams, amphibious logging stuff. If you have a 5-year-old that really likes to see big equipment, take him down by the river and let him just look and enjoy it. I tell you, that would be a all-day affair for me if I was a little boy. So the other thing I was talking about is Bowman being set up for a volunteer resource center and for office space for as we're stocked up to the gills here in this building, so we're gonna try to make some meeting rooms in there and some areas to have some meetings and some overflow stuff. So, working on Bowman. I will actually be out there, I think get some internet hooked up in there and, moving furniture over there this week. So we're trying to, get it all tweaked out, but I bet in the next 2 weeks we'll have some nice meeting areas in there. And so, it's been, approved that it's met fire code, met inspections for the wing that we're opening up in there for, use during the storm. Also, Mavis and I have been working on county budgets, for the departments, and, we're trying to knock those out over probably by mid next week. We have all the county budgets, kind of projected, and we, like to talk about, areas that, areas that have increased or decreased. We're trying to always look at that through hard eyes, and it's a time that, we look at the trends on their budgets, maybe the past 3 years. And we look and say, are they going up major? Are they going down? Are they staying the same? So we're meeting with department heads on that through mid next week, and we should have our county departments pretty much, penciled in. So, that's a quick rundown of the, stuff I've got on the county manager list there.
Any questions? Okay, we do have a closed session, tonight. I will read the statute, then I'll take a motion to go into closed session. Going to close session, general statute 143, 318, 11, 5. Real estate.
Jeff, before we move to closed session, do you want to do board comment first?
Closed session and come back out. And I will look at it again.
It's okay, we're all tired.
So everybody can exit and make a motion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I need a motion.
Make a motion.
Second. Favor.
8:40.